Now, if you're just logging on, we're logging on obviously a few minutes early because we like to do the Medicare Cafe pre-chat. So if you just want to know what's going on, the fun stuff, you just want to like fast forward to the serious stuff. But you had some really good stories I want to get into before we start the cafe. But you can fast forward like 5 minutes if you're watching the recorded version. Otherwise, tell me.
Oh, my Botox story?
Your Botox story.
This is just something that I had never ran into that I feel like is pretty cool. And it's like coming, I did some research on it, and it's like more prevalent than what I thought. So
I hear Botox, and like there's like people, I don't know, I hear like Botox has moved a little bit from like the like anti-wrinkle, anti-emotion phase into like more like medical uses, like for headaches.
It's medical.
Okay,
like there's so many medical uses, and I had no idea.
I had no idea.
So this guy came into my office, and he's somebody who I've met with this was my third year in a row.
Okay. And I have a client or like a networking partner?
No, he's a potential client, but he the last 2 years has been so happy with his Anthem HMO that he did not want to move. Okay. So yeah, that's easy. He's a client of mine, but not really. I'm not getting paid to be his agent.
Yeah.
But anyway,
charity work.
He came in and he looked sick. It was really sad. He looked sick. Long story short, he had some type of surgery. He got like throat cancer or stomach cancer. I don't remember, but his stomach was moved to like in his esophagus or something.
What?
It's moved up.
Like on purpose? Like they had to do that?
Yes, they had to do that. And he has to get an endoscopy, where they like go in. He has to get an endoscopy every like 6 months now, and they inject Botox into his stomach.
What? Because
it's the only way to keep it from like spasm. I don't really understand it all, but he gets Botox injections into his stomach.
Okay.
Crazy. And his Anthem plan, he came in, he said, Medicare keeps denying
Botox
this service. And he's like, I'm going to get cancer again if I cannot get this.
Yeah. I want a younger looking stomach.
And he was like, and I said, are you sure it's Medicare denying or Anthem? Because he loves his Anthem plan. Yeah. And I was like, Medicare isn't technically being billed right now. Like, yeah. I think it would be your Anthem plan. And he was like, no, the doctors keep saying it's Medicare.
No.
And I said, can we call them? Can we call them? And like, I want to hear what the procedure is called and all of that stuff. And we called the billing department, and they were like, oh, no, it's Anthem that is denying this. 3 people on the phone confirmed it was Anthem.
And he's just, like, heartbroken because Anthem is, like, his best friend.
And I wanted them to hear it. I said, what if he had original Medicare with a supplement, would this be covered? And she said, it's covered all the time. No questions asked, and there's no pre-approval.
That's frustrating.
Because I wanted to know, like, because I've never ran into Botox with either a medical Botox.
I mean, like, medically necessary, yes, but I feel like there would still be questions. Like, I feel like it still has to be a fairly new experimental thing, right?
So his Anthem plan covered the Botox one time last year, the first time he had it, but he said he had to do, like, a month-long test trial of something to prove that it was medically necessary. I don't know. It sounded like a lot of work.
Weird.
So it was just really, really interesting. But the light at the end of the tunnel is, so he's been on disability. He turned 65 in January.
So he'll be on a med sup.
So we can get him on a med sup, and his twice-a-year stomach Botox will be covered.
Oh, I was going to be so sad because I was like, well, now he can't get on a med sup.
I know.
He's going through cancer.
He can.
How exciting.
I know.
What a happy ending. What a roller coaster, though, right?
Yes.
That was nuts.
He had tears at one point.
Oh, wow.
It was because I could tell. He was like, I mean, I have bile in my mouth right now. He's like, the bile just, like, comes up without this Botox.
Oh, well, that's what, like, I was, actually, I was able to be on a podcast the other day, the Matt Ferret Show, talking about, like, what's going on with, like, Medicare supplements versus Medicare Advantage plans, and there's just so much, like, you know, there are those circumstances where, like, a Medicare Advantage plan, you just have so many, I don't know how else to describe it, but, like, hands in the pot. You have so many people.
Yeah, there's more hurdles.
There's a lot more hurdles.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to, like, demonize Medicare Advantage plans because if you're using them to stay healthy, they can be a wonderful alternative, I think. But, like, this is a case where it's just, like, yeah, like, these are things, like, a person needs to know that things, like, require, like, prior authorizations and things like that. Like, they, you know, there are extra hurdles you have to go through, and that's just kind of like the extra risks you're willing to take with Medicare Advantage plans. Sure. So just good reminder. It doesn't mean that Medicare Advantage plans are bad. It just means that, like, you need to make sure that you're, you know, you're giving stories like this to be like, hey, this isn't something I've heard of before. This isn't something that's that happens often, but, like, here was the difference between the supplement and the Advantage plan for my client and this situation. Yeah. Very interesting.
I also wanted to share that, so I was in Kansas City for 2 days last week, presenting to a financial advisor. He had enough clients to do 2 Medicare seminars for 2 days.
Dang.
And this guy specializes in philanthropic donations. So, like, these were, like, uber wealthy clients.
Like, very affluent.
You have enough money to, like, donate to your alma mater and, like, all that stuff. And I was so surprised that, like, 75% of them were on Medicare Advantage plans.
Really?
Yeah. It just, like, really threw me.
It's Medicare Advantage is becoming less and less about an income thing.
For sure.
Because, like, and that's how, like, again, that was a huge transition we started seeing about, like, 5 years ago, whenever the benefits started getting better and better, because they're thinking, like, I'm okay if I have to pay for some things out of pocket. Yeah. It used to be, like, I can afford a MedSup premium, put me on an MA plan. Now it's transitioning to going, I can afford some medical risk, put me on an MA plan. It's definitely kind of, like, shifting tides about how you buy an MA plan now.
I mean, all of these people, they were like, I'm super healthy. I never go to the doctor, and I love the benefits.
So let me ask you that then.
Like they love the in-home nurse.
So they knew how a Medicare Advantage plan worked. It wasn't like
it
wasn't like they were, like, missold, misrepresented. They said, I understand the risks, and they were educated on it, and they chose to go that route.
I would say half.
Yeah.
Half of them were educated. The other half, they had no idea, like, what they had.
Yeah.
It was just kind of they enrolled in that because that's what their sister had.
Yeah.
Or
were those people, like, happy with their plans?
They were happy with it. One of them was paying, like, I think it was $70 a month premium, though, for an MA plan.
Oh, silly. Well, I do see, actually, there's actually a lot right now. I know, like, Aetna has a few. Zing has one. But they're supposed to, like, rival Medicare supplements with, like, the networks and stuff like that. But, like, it's basically, the way that it works is, like, they are coming out, and we're starting to see a rise of higher premium Medicare Advantage plans. But, like, they rival a Medicare supplement with the way that the networks work, the way that the benefits are, the way that
Aetna has one of those?
Aetna has, but not here. Oh, just in select markets. Like, you're going to see more, like, in more dense populations. Like, Chicago is this one. Where, like, again, it's like, you're looking at this plan, like, why would anybody ever pay this much for a Medicare Advantage plan? But then, like, it really does. It again, it's supposed to, like I said, it competes. It's like a low MedSup is how that it basically ends up working. So yeah, I don't know, the landscape of what we're going to see with Medicare Advantage plans is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a different AEP. But it already feels different to me.
I mean, like, yeah, I think before we
different from the last few years.
Yeah,
there's just so much change.
Today we're talking about the top mistakes made during AEPs, particularly the top mistakes made during for agents during AEPs. So that's what our topic is today. Again, I'd like to make sure that during AEP, these Medicare cafes stay really short and small and tight, and we get the information out to you. But I do want to hear from your perspective.
I told you my first number one mistake.
Yeah, well, no, your perspective, like, how has the first 2 days, we're on a third day, how's it been this year? Is it, like, you kind of mentioned earlier before we went live, like, what you expected versus what's happening?
As far as prescription drugs go, like, I thought everybody would be excited about the $0 WellCare plan. Mm-hmm. Everybody is like, I don't understand it. Yes. It can't be good.
Yes. That was something that was really surprising to me, that they were like, you could have raised that premium by $15 and people would have stayed on it.
Yeah.
It was the fact that it went down to 0 or in some areas 50 cents. And everybody's like, things are about to get really bad. Get me off this plan.
I'm really curious how WellCare is going to be able to handle the influx of people that are going to that.
True.
plan.
Yeah, true. It's interesting. It may not be the PR that they were hoping for.
And I feel like I've also had a lot of people who like they're complaining about their supplement or just prices going up. Yet I've been giving them options that are like $50 cheaper and they're just like, it's only $50. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
Then why are you complaining?
Yeah, it's like, here's an option to actually save you in that. And it's just kind of like not worth the hassle.
So I don't know. I just feel like people are responding differently to options. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I think like the cultural climate right now is like everybody's dealing with like inflation and raising prices, and like groceries are costing a tremendous amount that people are maybe not even getting numb to it, but getting more accustomed to it. And so, but we're also in this like mode where like I want to complain about the prices. Yeah. So like you probably are getting a lot more people because they're kind of being right now conditioned to complain about high costs of things. And so they may not be that, if they were really that uncomfortable, they would make the switch, right? You know, but they're just more conditioned to talk about it than they really are uncomfortable with it.
Yes. I don't know. I just feel like people are all talk.
A lot of talk.
A lot of talk.
A lot of talk. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of talk. So I have here just a list of some of the top mistakes that I'm seeing so far and what I've seen in AEP's back, but like I also want to hear from you. Yeah. You said your first mistake was that you're not giving yourself enough hours to work.
No. I mean, I'm still only working 15 to 20 hours a week.
That's nuts. How are you managing that? Well, okay, let's preface this. Your appointments are probably within 15 to 20.
Yes.
You're working
that
more
is
than
my
that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Last night I worked from 8 to 11.
Oh my gosh. So
I was up at 5, worked from 5
how
to
many
6:30.
appointments a week are you rocking right now? Do you have scheduled?
I don't know, one at least every hour, sometimes 2, so at least 15.
Yeah. Jeez.
At least 15.
Let's get into my number one mistake, or not the first number one, but the first mistake. Number one is when you're dealing with applications.
You're seeing this? People forget to sign the application?
Funny enough, that's not even a statistic that we see. That was coming from United Healthcare, which of course is the number one sold Medicare supplement and Medicare Advantage plan, and it is the number one reason for a pending app. When it's paper, obviously you can't do that on Lean, but on a paper app, the number one reason for a pending app is missing agent signature.
I get so nervous these days if I have to do a paper application.
There's no set like something to stop you.
Yeah, I love electronic. Like you can't miss anything. Mm-hmm. It's safe.
If you're using Medicare Center or Medicare app, it autofills half the information for you. Yep. So for sure. So make sure you keep that in mind. The two other ones that I'm seeing are kind of ones that like, well, why would I even do that? Missing primary care providers, even on a PPO, and missing billing information, even if it's a $0 premium. The reason why we see that come back to bite people is, number one, like even if it is a PPO, it's confusing because like on Medicare app and Medicare Center, it'll say optional for the PCP on the PPO. It's not. You have to put in that PCP number.
I think it's Oh, no, it's not optional on like Lean.
No, it is not optional. So even if it's even if you're submitting somebody or enrolling them in a PPO, you still have to put in a primary care provider. Because if you don't, then sometimes it can be seen as a compliance violation because you're not filling out the application, and they're not and it's showing that you didn't ask them that question. And number two, it's the carrier will actually reach out and usually will auto assign them one. So make sure that you have a primary care provider, even if it's a PPO. And then go ahead.
I had a separate thought that just reminded.
No, you're good.
Somehow came to me of something good to know. I wrote 2 Anthem supplements a couple weeks ago, and there was a whole issue of I did e-apps, and they were like, Anthem came back and said, we see that you're agent of record, but these clients aren't attached to you. And I was like, I did an e-app through my portal. How could they not be attached to me?
Yeah.
I am within 30 days of my license renewal.
Oh.
And they flagged that as I'm not active.
Well, in Missouri, they recently changed it to where it doesn't matter when you got your license, it goes by your birthday. Yeah, which is the dumbest, but anyway.
And so I haven't renewed I renewed it today once we found this out yesterday. But because my license wasn't renewed and I'm within 30 days of that like deadline, they withheld commissions and wouldn't attach it to me.
That's nuts.
So
something to keep in mind. Yeah. Another thing, like don't let your stuff during AEP. Life still happens. You still have to make sure everything else is taken. And we'll talk about that here a little bit too. But then lastly was like make sure even if it's a $0 premium, oftentimes, especially if it's a new to you client,
check the box.
It's always important to make sure you have that because a lot of times what I've seen is that people will have like a late enrollment penalty or something like that you weren't aware of, and then the app will pend and then like time out because you didn't include billing information on there. So just be careful about that. It's always a good idea to go ahead and just make sure the application is complete the way that it's designed to be. So
I have had a handful of people really unhappy with the like ethnicity and race questions that are now on there.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. I heard that they added that last year, right? Yeah. And people are just like,
why? Why do you have to ask me that? And I was like, you can choose not to answer.
It's such it's just the political climate associating everything right now. Like I really feel like we're really seeing
I won't share what many of them have said after.
Yeah, about like, I'm not, I can imagine. It's just weird. It's weird what people are choosing to be like,
I know, I'll get riled up and I'm like, okay, here it comes.
Here it comes. Let me ask this question. Yeah. Oh my God. What a weird life we're in right now. Some other big mistakes I see agents make is that they don't set a follow-up appointment at that appointment. You're
talking to me right now.
I know, and here's why. It's because when you're every single appointment, you are training your clients, even during AEP, you are training your clients on how to interact with you. Mm-hmm. And if you set a follow-up appointment, it's showing that you're in it for the long haul, which obviously your clients know that, but like shows that you aren't a one and done person, shows that you're taking care of them for the life of their policies and for their life. And 2, you don't have to resell yourself. So if you want to go and try to do some cross-selling opportunities in Q1 or Q2, you don't have to, if you call them and they're not expecting your call, you kind of have to like resell them, trying to get another appointment and then trying to get back with them. Whenever you just have that follow-up appointment made, you don't have to put energy towards convincing them to meet with you again. It's totally true. It's like why I haven't gone to the dentist in over a year is because my dentist forgot to set a follow-up appointment with me. Hasn't been back in a year. I know it's disgusting. I have a problem. So just keeping that in mind, you don't have to resell yourself. And again, you can lose out on a cross-selling opportunity. So please, please, please never leave an appointment without setting your next appointment.
I needed to hear all of that.
Perfect.
So I'm glad for that slide.
Number 3. Agents tend to slow down other marketing activities.
Oh man, not me. I'm going strong.
Tell me about it. You had those 2 events last week.
We had an agent, so we have like a social media competition next door, and I have won, like, I think every month since February. Yeah. And there were 2 weeks of September that somebody else like had more than me, and I'm like,
absolutely doing 2 a day. Absolutely not today. Well, and it is because you get, like, I did a video about this a few weeks ago. You get so caught up to, like, you're skipping meals, you're skipping ball games, you're doing everything you can. It's really easy to let your other stuff fall behind. But people still turn 65. People, especially this time of year, start to retire. People have questions. So please, and like, let's not forget that this is the number one time of year when Medicare supplements are written as well. So like, yes, we're in MAPD and PDP season, but like, please review your MedSup portfolios. There's been some, especially if you're Missouri, Life Shield is no longer paying well on Missouri anniversaries.
Oh yeah.
So like, make sure that you have ACE, make sure you have Cigna, make sure like you need to maintain and like keep watching your MedSup portfolio. So like, the world doesn't stop just because it's AEP.
No, I have to put it on my calendar. I put it every Tuesday and every Thursday. I have a time blocked off for, I'm like, take a picture, make a TikTok. Like, I put it on my calendar to do the social media stuff so it doesn't stop.
And then, like, don't forget, like, you can, like, obviously you can schedule them in advance. That's what I do. But mine's on Sunday nights. And it's wine-induced, and it's really fun.
I do that some nights too.
The next thing is we're going to talk about is assuming if I hear nothing, then it's fine. From
clients get mad.
Exactly. Well, and I'll talk about that. That's actually been the next slide, assuming that your clients know what's going on during AEP. But first of all, we're talking about like your carriers are not going to like shoot you a text message if something's wrong. Like you have to make sure that you check And again, we know we don't get paid commissions on things until after the first of the year. So you need to make sure, again, are your apps pending? You need to check your carrier portals or Medicare Center on the policy check thingy if you're using that. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure that your clients are still your clients. Just because they were your clients October 15th does not mean that they didn't make a change or do something different come December 7th. Yep. So it's just making sure that, ignorance is not bliss. You need to really make sure that you're paying attention, especially before December 1st. Please make sure your apps are showing up in the portals. Please make sure there's nothing pending. Please make sure your clients are still your clients, because no news is not good news. No. You need to be really vigilant about making sure your stuff is getting processed.
And I read that one differently. I was thinking you were saying, if you don't hear from the client, then they're fine. They want to stay. And I feel like at least the majority of my clients would get mad at me if they're like, well, I didn't hear from you. And I'm like, well, hold on. You got a letter. You got an email. We did try to call you. But if you don't physically talk to them.
Well, I'm telling you, you sending out a letter, trying to call them, sending an email is more than probably 75% of the agents out there. The majority of agents that I work with have been they know what to do. They know if they have questions or they don't like their ANOC or they want to switch, they know to call me. Not true. If you, and again,
somebody else is going to call them and take them.
Exactly. Every single one of your clients need to hear from you in some capacity. Maybe it is just an email. Maybe it is your newsletter. Maybe it is a phone call. But if they don't know, don't assume your clients know how to handle AEP.
I've had probably 10 to 15 people just email me and are like, I got your letter. I'm really happy with my plan. Do we have to do anything? Mm-hmm. And I'll write back, I'm like, no, I wouldn't be doing my job, though, if I didn't tell you about other plans that are out there. If you want to have a conversation and find out what else is out there, I think that plan is still strong and you're good to stay. And so most of them have just been like, okay, check me off your list.
Well, that's just the thing. You probably don't even have to meet with a lot, especially right now. Yes, there are new options here. There are new shinies and bells and whistles in here and across the United States. But a lot of the plans are barely changing. A lot of the plans, you're not seeing a whole bunch of change. So don't just assume and also don't assume their medications could have changed dramatically. Their providers could have changed dramatically. There's a lot of factors that would make a reason for a person not to stay in that same plan. It's very likely you're not going to have to meet with all of your clients, but you have to communicate with all of your clients.
I have a really good Kari Type A story.
I love Kari Type A stories. They're my favorite.
So on Friday, I told you I prepare for all of my meetings the next day.
Yes.
So on Friday, I was preparing for all of my Monday meetings, and I excuse me, I saw that one of my clients who was scheduled, I was like, okay, he takes no medications. He's on the WellCare plan. I didn't recommend him changing anything. And he lives an hour and a half from here. Mm-hmm. And so I called him and I was like, Kenny, I am more than happy to meet with you on Monday, but I don't want you to drive an hour and a half for me to just tell you to stay put. Mm-hmm. Are you okay with just having a phone conversation? He's like, well, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing.
Oh, I love it.
So I'm so glad I prepped for that, because then I just opened up a whole another spot and saved him some drive time.
I mean, and it does, and that's exactly right. Nobody wants to talk about, it is a good advisor to say no change. You know what I mean? It's a good advisor to say we should change. It's both answers are okay. Both answers are fantastic as long as the consumer has been communicated with that I have looked at your situation. I have monitored it. This is my recommendation unless things have changed. If things have changed, let's go ahead and meet together. But if you don't tell them that, one of the things we talk about that a lot of times this comes to referrals. And it's I didn't want to refer my friends to you because I thought you were too busy. I didn't want to bother you with my friends. So if your people don't know that you want referrals, they're not going to send you referrals. Yep. You have to train them on how to handle you and how to work with you.
For sure.
We did get a text message, and the question was, if a client self-enrolls into a Part D plan, should they enroll via Medicare.gov or directly to the carrier? It depends. There's not necessarily number
really
one
matter?
It can. The idea is that if they enroll into a Part D plan, that you're the agent of record, but sometimes you can't get contracted with every Part D plan. Every once in a while, there's one that I have one person on. I'm not going to get contracted for one client. If they enroll in Medicare.gov, it does leave some room for like error and like computer malfunction and tech malfunctions. It is easier. It is streamlined. They can do it on like right then and there. It's easy to do. Just keep in mind, if you're not licensed with that carrier and certified to sell them, you can't be with them while they enroll. So just keep in mind, like you can't be in the room. You can't help them with that enrollment. If you're not ready to sell with that carrier, you cannot assist them on Medicare.gov with that carrier. The alternative being, if they call the carrier directly, keep in mind when you're calling a carrier directly, most of the time these carriers will have call centers that are handling those enrollments. And oftentimes those call centers are not like a UHC call center. It's very rarely you're calling UHC. You're calling a call center that can sell UHC products. And when you do that, there's salespeople on the other end of the phone. They're going to try to get them to sell a more profitable product, aka a Medicare Advantage plan. Yep. So if you have them call the carrier, it's likely they're going to try to push MAPD and versus the PDP that they want. But if they enroll directly with Medicare.gov, you'll just want to make sure that like they check to make sure their enrollment has actually gone through. So double-edged sword there, either way. Yeah, great question.
I have another, if we have time.
We have
story
time.
About, do we still have more slides?
I think that's it. I think this was the last one. The top mistakes made during AEP. But again, we'd love to hear your story. We got time. So, I was keeping this fast because you had to get out of here. You have 10 minutes.
I have 10 minutes.
Actually, I have 11 minutes.
I think I know I've told you before. Don't remember if we talked about it on here or not, but I keep having clients who are leaving an employer plan, and for some reason, Medicare will not remove that employer plan as being primary.
This is something we've been talking about since the beginning of this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
The instances, there's been about 5 instances of when that's happened, and all of them have been when someone had an employer plan and Part A only as secondary, and then once they left that employer plan and Medicare became primary, it was like Medicare would not remove that. Even it's inactive. I mean, we're talking like years.
Weird.
They wouldn't remove it, and so everybody's claims were getting denied.
Because it was trying to be sent to a plan that they're not a part of,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But I've had a lady who we enrolled, she had an August 1st effective date. She was a T65. So her employer plan ended in July when she left that plan. She joined Medicare in August, so she never had them active at the same time. Medicare, she's called Medicare every week since August.
Jeez.
They will not remove her Anthem employer plan. All of her PDP claims are being denied.
Jeez.
She had a hospitalization and her MedSup claim is being denied because they all keep saying, well, Medicare is telling us you have another primary insurance.
How do you fix that?
The only way to fix it is you call Medicare and tell them to remove it. But she's talked to 8 different people and they've said it will be removed after 72 hours. She calls back and it's not removed and they say, well, it'll be removed in 72 hours. 8 weeks.
That's nuts.
So
that's nuts.
I'm stuck.
Kind of at a loss. Like, what do you even do after that, right?
So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to call with her
I would say
at some
she
point,
probably
but
needs
I'm
to
not
go.
gonna have any more. Can I even do that? Can I call Medicare with my client?
Yes, as long as your client's on the line, you can call Medicare with her. But it sounds like at this point she probably just needs to like walk into Social Security and like have them handle it.
How would can Social Security handle like Medicare's?
Should, yeah. They should be able to. Well, now I'm questioning everything.
No, like, I mean, she's having to call Medicare, not Social Security.
Right.
Because it's...
But again, but Social Security handles it whenever, like, again, getting them into the Medicare and showing that the other coverage is ending. So you would think they would be able to help with this.
I hope so. I don't know.
We'll see.
It's a nightmare.
Keep me updated. That's interesting. Because I don't even know, like, where I would start on that.
That's close to 10 total that me and another agent have had this happen to within like a year.
Something to like look, something to there's trend to follow.
Now there is no trend now.
Yeah.
Like, because those plans were never even active at the same time. So why would Medicare even ever show that she had an Anthem plan? How would they even know?
How would they even know that? Yeah, I don't know. Which is why, again, I would think that you would want to get... Because Social Security is the one that sends out the notifications that they had credible coverage during the time.
But this is a T65.
Right. True. I mean, true.
So there was no even credible form needed?
But she would have to prove credible coverage for the ACA.
for the ACA. She had an employer plan.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, she would have to show that she had, so that would be why they would know about that.
I don't know.
The government knows everything, and there's no escape for any of us.
But
anyway.
I don't like it. I don't like when I can't predict when it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, keep us in the loop. Let us know what you find out. Let us know, like, how she ends up solving that. Because, that's a really annoying thing for somebody to have to keep going back over and back over and back over. Perfect. All right, guys. Again, we try to keep these short and sweet during AEP. So that is the Medicare Cafe. If you want to continue to get some awesome updates about AEP, what's going out there in the industry, what we're seeing, make sure you go to our YouTube page, Senior Marketing Specialist YouTube page. We're doing update videos there as well. But again, keep watching the Medicare Cafe. We'll keep going all through AEP every Tuesday at 10 a.m. And we'll keep you guys in the loop of, like, what's going on. Kari will give us updates on what's going on with her clients. I'll let you know what's going on with technology and the carriers and the industry as a whole. So, sounds great. Awesome, guys. Good luck. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next Tuesday. So until then, have fun.
Make money.
And give impeccable